Hello, my friends. Today I'm with Nivi, such a terrific guy that I met recently, and he's gonna share his beautiful story. But I'm not gonna take anything out of him, so out from him. So please, Nivi,
Hi,
tell us,
Luis.
who are you?
Thank you. Well, who am I? So, my name is Nivi. I'm one of the founders of I'm Not Okay, a vegan cheese company based here in London, and also of Third Culture Deli, a plant-based deli that I recently opened with my partner exactly a year ago here in Hackney, London again. A bit of my background about me. So, I studied graphic design in Milan, graduated there. I worked as a designer for different agencies in Milan, had almost 3 years in Istanbul as well, working as a designer, so I travel a bit. And then I've been living in London since 2016, so it's going to
Okay.
be soon 8 years, I believe, seven. And I feel like the one of the coolest thing about my journey so far is that I was able to move through different cultures. The fact that I was also born in Italy, but my parents are from Albania, I think added an extra layer into my background.
Yeah.
And the same goes with my partner, because she's like American but Taiwanese background from her parents.
Okay.
So the fact that we both met here gave us a lot of kind of like we both shared a lot of interest about
Okay.
food, especially, and that's why I guess we have two businesses in food. So it's nice to be in a place like London, because I feel like it's a great hub for people to come connect and really want to make something out of it.
Yeah.
And the fact that it's quite diverse really helped us to get to the point that we are today.
That's why you moved to London.
Yes. So back in, I think it was 2015, I decided to leave Istanbul because I wanted to move back to Milan for a while. At the time, I was running I had an idea for like a tech startup, and I knew that London was the place to be for me in terms of like the tech scene. There was a bit of a bubble about, especially sharing economy.
Yeah.
We all know big players like Uber, BlaBlaCar, um, Airbnb had a good momentum, and I had the similar ideas that was kind of like combining people traveling and people needing to deliver something. So during that time, I had this idea, and I just saw London was the right place and the closest also for me to get into the action. So I moved here, and while I was here, I then discovered more about the culture, more about also the economy and what was offering. And I remember that one of the things that was like shocking me the most in a good way was that there were a lot of like drinks offering, a lot of like juices, a lot of like when you go to a shop, you see so many options compared to Milan, which is a bit more limited. The market is a bit smaller. And then a few years later, when I went to New York, that was like 10 times in London. So that's the beauty of like traveling. You always realize how big the world is, how diverse it is. And I think London right now is still a good stage for me to kind of like upper a bit my game. And it's it's still a good place to bring something new.
Yeah. So with that in mindset, is that you started this journey of
Yes, I'm not okay.
yeah.
So it all started when me and Angela started dating. Being Italian, I'm like, I want to sort of like impress you with my cooking skills because I love to cook. And at the time, I wasn't vegan, so it was a bit of a challenge for me to.
She was vegan.
She was vegan, yeah,
Okay.
already. So it took me a few days to understand what really vegan was, because
Okay.
I'm like, okay, no meat, I get it. Eggs? No, no eggs. What about a bit of cheese and maybe some salmon, fish? Like, no. So it was like, not a shock, but like I really needed to rethink about how to use ingredients, how to, extract flavors, be more, adventurous with like spices and other stuff, and veggies. So it was really cool because it allowed me again, instead of like looking at a thing where, oh, I'm limited. No, actually, I'm more inspired now to try something new.
Yeah.
So she was also really kind and not pushy. She never told me you should be vegan. She always had this really like chill sort of like way of like, telling me, it's your choice. And I kind of like the challenge to maybe wanted to impress her with like good food. So I went on my own journey of like, you read some books, you watch some documentaries, and I think within 6 months, I actually immediately gave up meat. When I was like, okay, I think I get it now. It's about the environment, it's about your diet, it's about the animals. There's so many good reasons, and I just probably reached the point where I couldn't justify eating meat anymore.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, that's an easy one. No meat. I still kept cheese and maybe fish and eggs for a few months as a byproduct. So if it was used maybe in a cake, in a cookie, or if we were going out, I was still maybe every now and then eating it until slowly like phased out of it. And then when I completely, became vegan, I'm like, I still don't like cheese though.
Yeah.
I get everything,
Yeah.
it's beautiful. I think there's a lot of like really good reasons. There's interesting ethic behind, but the taste, the taste needs to work. If not, it's gonna be challenging. So that was I think 2017, and kind of like towards the end of the year, I'm like, I don't think I'm gonna eat cheese anymore because I don't want to eat dairy for like a lot of reasons. But at the same time, I don't really like vegan cheese because it's a bit rubbery, it's a bit plasticky, it tastes less. And I think what Angela was trying to show me is that actually vegan cheese can taste good, and that's because she had good vegan cheese in the past because she's originally from Los Angeles, which is like the mecca for like vegan products. And then she lived in New York for a few years, so she was really exposed to like innovative product, because innovation to me is coming from the US and Asia. London is like that nice hub in the traditional Eurocentric culture where things are coming, and then as a funnel, then they go to even more traditional places like Spain, Italy, France, which are like so stuck with like, this is tradition, we're not going to change it. So we met at the right time, at the right place, and I met the right person as well. And she started making some cashew cheese at home. And the first time she made like kind of like smoked paprika. I really like smoked flavor. She made like a smoked paprika cream cheese, and I loved it. I'm like, this is actually really, really good. Yeah. And a bit out of fun, out of like, we're both really entrepreneurials. We thought, well, we're like both designers. We love food. Sorry.
That's how you. That's why you met, because you were in design, I assume.
Well, we met because we liked each other, okay. and then we found out that we're both like into design, into food. Okay, but the idea was that we understood that there was a gap in the market, and being both kind of like entrepreneurial spirits, we thought, okay, well, we could build a brand. We can pivot some of the ideas that she had in mind, some recipes that she kind of like wrote herself, because there's not an ABC on how to make vegan cheese. Maybe now there's more to share about it, but at the time, it was a really new and niche sector. And so she's like self-taught. So we borrowed like £1,000 from our parents just to buy like a small food processor, a few cashews from like Tesco or like small shops around, blended them, and the day after we went to a farmer's market over the weekend. I still remember I had like a little backpack filled with like pots of cream cheese, a tablecloth, and a few like toothpicks for like people to try, and like, let's see how that goes. And it was amazing because on our first day we like sold a few. I think we made £170, and like, wow. I was like, we just made it at home a few hours ago. Yeah. And now people are like trying it and like buying it. So it's this fast feedback of like, hey, people really like it. And that gave us, more, that helped us to kind of like pursue what we had in mind. So the day after we went to another farmer's market. And then week after week, more people were coming, sales were growing. We could reinvest the money back into the business. And without even realizing, it turned into a full-time job. More than a full-time. We were doing, I don't know, 80 hours a week, like crazy hours. But there was so much passion, so much, fire. We were also 5.5 years younger. So you're kind of like a bit more reckless in terms of like, you just go and do it, which is one of the advice that I would get to anyone that wants to try something. You need to do it. And then, if it works, it works. But I think it's important to not overthink so much, because you keep learning, you keep adjusting the brand, you keep adjusting the recipes. But until you're not out there exposed to, in a vulnerable way, get those feedback, you're never going to learn. So within a few months of like trading from home, we were able to already supply Fortnum and Mason, which at the time we had no idea what it was. We thought it was a fancy bougie online shop where they sold hampers. And then when we went to drop some samples, we saw that it was an amazing department store. And I'm like, wow, this is huge. So we were stuck there. And then we launched our online shop. And back in 2018, 17, 18, Instagram was still big in terms of like getting like traction and, getting like big numbers behind like your posts, and like interaction and engagement was amazing. So we were able to like grow the brand quite fast. And then we got into like more shops like Planet Organic, at the time the vegan kind. So the brand kept growing. And then in 2020, we also started supplying restaurants like pizzerias, especially because they were looking for like a good vegan cheese that could melt, which was always my issue when going and eating outside. Still today, 2023, the cheese options are pretty terrible out there in terms of like food service when you go and eat in restaurants. When you go to shops, there's like so many varieties. There's a lot of amazing artisanal brands that like out there doing really good stuff. But when you go out of the shop and like want to go and eat outside, the products are still quite not good enough, in my opinion. So being able to create, this is our mozzarella, something that
so good.
Thank you. Could melt and taste good and make the chef happy, make us happy and the customers. Was, almost a way for us to use it as a tool to educate the buyers, educate the chefs, and then educate the customers that actually vegan cheese can taste good. Because you have a huge platform, which is the restaurant, to show people that food is good, because most people might not want to buy cheese from a shop because they're like intimidated. They maybe don't care. But if they go out with a friend and they're like ordering like a vegan pizza, they might give it a bite. And if the experience is not good, the whole reputation that we're like trying to build is like compromised. So I feel like it's really important to like go there and like bring good quality products, which is the same with Oatly. People were not looking that much at like plant-based alternatives in milk because it was boring. The taste wasn't great. The texture wasn't great for like milks and stuff. And then they made something with, a different tone of voice, a different branding, a different way of like approaching the market. And they educated the customers first with the baristas. They went to all the baristas and they said, try this. And then once people got used to oat milk tasting finally good, then they were able to go to the shop and buy it for home. So I feel like the sort of approach we want to take, it's really similar.
Okay. And where the name of the brand came on? It's really cool, yeah.
So the name of the brand, Angela really loves puns. And she wanted to kind of like find a sort of a quirky name, something that, was like kind of like I still remember when we were doing ourselves the market and people were reading the name, they were like laughing. They were like, oh, that's fun. And then they would stop by. So we wanted a name that, wasn't like really saying, oh, green, you know, cheese, like, oh, healthy. Like we wanted to have more of a bolder brand.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's the main reason behind something that, would like grabs people attention. And hence, bolder packaging, different colors, that we always wanted to kind of like go away from like the sort of like plain, clean, um, sort of like packaging brand,
Yeah.
and have more of a stronger approach.
Yeah, because the way it looks is compared to any other cheese, right?
Thank you. Yeah.
Which is really cool. And what I would like to understand is where is all these um, ideas of mixing it with truffle, with
Yeah.
where is this coming from?
So again,
Who's the brain behind this?
I guess it's both me and Angela, because we're both people that don't really like plain stuff.
Yeah.
and we thought, if we want to like show people that there's like really good stuff out there, we need to be a bit more bolder.
Yeah.
We need to dare. In fact, the tagline is more daring than dairy. And wanted to do something that not only vegan would eat, but also non-vegans. In fact, one of our bestseller is the black truffle cheese, because it's so unique, it's so different. It's not even a replica of any dairy cheese.
Yeah.
It's something totally new, and because it's new, people are a bit more open-minded about it, because we're not trying to replicate something.
Yeah.
It's becoming just food that tastes good, and it's cheesy as well, and it happens to be vegan. So we're like getting to a wider crowd, and we have a lot of non-vegans customers that really like the food, because at the end of the day it tastes good. So that's the kind of like sort of like ethos behind what we do. We always want to make food that tastes good, and the same goes with the deli. We didn't call it vegan deli, we called it plant-based, because I think it's more of a wider spectrum in terms of like your customers. And now we still get people inside asking, oh, is it vegan? Like, yeah, everything is vegan. So I think it's good, because then you allow also non-vegans to come in and maybe have a look and be more inspired and curious,
Yeah.
rather than closing it to just the vegan market.
And let's move on to third culture,
Yeah.
right? Tell me everything about the
Everything,
idea
yes.
of creating this really nice place where we met,
Thank you.
which is a really lovely coffee at Broadway Market.
Yeah.
Where I started to just stop because I'm vegetarian. And it's like, okay, I want to try these amazing sandwiches. Oh my God, I was shocked.
Thank you. So it's a nice story, because we used to trade every Saturday at Broadway Market. So it's really, for people that are not familiar with London or like Hackney, it's one of the most established, like with like Brick Lane and Spitalfields like markets here in East London, and it happens every Saturday, and also Sundays for like street food. So we used to have a stall every Saturday trading there. We were like the first vegan cheese they've ever had, and it's a kind of a cliche, because Hackney vegan cheese is like, a great match, because it's
Yeah.
a bit of a vegan bubble. And we, once you stand there in the cold, sometimes under the rain, you think, oh, it would be so nice to, maybe have a shop.
Yeah.
And then kind of like elevate also the experience for the customers. And it's like, yeah, we do cheese, but like we love food. It will be so cool to integrate one of the products maybe in a dish. Maybe it's going to be a sandwich, and we have ideas for like drinks, but like we never wanted to play that safe kind of like card and like do easy things. We wanted to do something a bit more bold, and I guess that's because of our diverse background. So when we finally found a commercial unit up for rent, we immediately ranked them, because we tried in the past, but it's a hot spot and it's really hard to find something. So we were, I always say luck is an attitude. We wanted something, we found the spot, and then we were able to kind of like secure it. So the whole concept behind third culture is basically, it has two meanings. First of all, the name third culture kids are people like me and Angela. So we're born in a country, parents are from another country, and then you live in a different country. So the UK is our third culture. So we wanted to use that as a blueprint to create a menu in food and drinks that was able to incorporate different flavors, different backgrounds into something new. And then culture, because of the life culture. So anything that has to do with like fermentation, what is like fermented cashew cheese, kombucha, water kefir, but also the whole adjacent world like pickles and stuff. It's something that we were always really interested. So we wanted to combine the two. And we opened a year ago. It's been a challenging experience so far, in good and in a bad way, because it's the first time we're like involved in hospitality.
Yeah.
And we learned a lot. We met a lot of cool people.
Thanks.
Us meeting today here for this it's a great example. And it's almost like little spot for us to also try new products, test them with the customers, and then decide, are we gonna maybe, you know, pivot something into I'm not okay, or we're gonna like keep it on the side as third culture because it'd be too funky, so we can sell it there. And we successfully tried a lot of things that we're gonna now start to try to bring as proper product.
Yeah.
So third culture was always a bit of a bigger and wider idea. It's not just a cafe, but it's also a brand. It's also something that we want to kind of expand and use it to, again, as a platform, inspire our customers or educate them on like new flavors. We introduced a few things. For example, one of the things that are the most proud is our tiramisu, because third culture tiramisu, how is a third culture tiramisu? A classic staple Italian dessert is like, you know, you use coffee, but then if you want to make it the third culture way, we decided to use matcha. So we keep that caffeine element. But then we also added pandan, which is, if you guys don't know, Google it, and try to find it and taste it because it's amazing. It's a leaf that's used a lot in like Southeast Asian cuisine, and it tastes like coconut and vanilla. So we like cold pressed it, made a syrup, and then use it in the tiramisu, and it's a amazing match. And when customer try it, they're like, this is amazing. That's an example. During our evening menus, we had a arancini, again a great example of like third culture. So classic Italian staple, but then the twist comes because inside we put some of our mozzarella, but also some fermented tofu. So we're able to bring again an element from a different background and cuisine into the food that we do, and so on. We're like always trying to incorporate that. So this is the kind of like idea behind what we're trying to do, and then hopefully that's going to inspire people to, you know, come maybe next week and try something different.
Now let's talk about the challenges that you just mentioned, right? Because you're an entrepreneur. You have been in this ride already for some years. First with this brand, now with hospitality and third culture. So tell me a little bit about that, because I'm also in this entrepreneurship journey, and but you have been there for a while. So let's talk about challenges.
So challenges are always unknown. When I moved here initially, I actually moved here just before Brexit, and that was a huge question mark on like how is that going to shape the future of the country, the economy. And then we had COVID, and then lockdown, and then the years after, you know, the war in Russia and Ukraine, how that had a domino effect on like the economy, some of the ingredients that we were like buying, and Brexit still creating this like huge gray area on how to deal with like paperwork, customs, importing, exporting. So there's always challenges. I feel like as a entrepreneur, as a company, as a brand, being able to look at these as challenges that can improve your business, at least it's my kind of like point of view, because I want to see, okay, it's almost like playing a game. What can I do to like overcome this and make it better? And you will find solution, because, you know, there's a lot of like smart things that people can do Maybe it's like, I shut down part of the business and I focus more on that. It can be a wake-up call. We've seen with like people, it was unthinkable to think to work from home before.
Yeah.
But now more and more companies are like rethinking that. So there's always ways of like making it work. It can become, and then maybe that's a topic that is important to discuss also for like your mental health, overwhelming,
Yeah.
especially if you're like a solo founder like yourself. I know that I've been a solo founder before. It's not easy. I'm very blessed to have not just an amazing business partner, which is Angela, but she's also my partner in life, and having someone that can like also balance me, because we're quite different. I'm like more impulsive, more like I want to go and do it. She's a bit more rational and like, she keeps me more grounded. It's good because you can like use that as an advantage too when you want to build a business.
Yeah.
So challenges are always going to happen. There's never the right time to do things, and that goes also with opening a shop. A daily is like, well, if we opened it before Brexit, the economy was stronger. We would have probably made more money, but then COVID happened, and everything that maybe we tried to build, you would have gone lost.
Yeah.
So opening after COVID, the economy is still there, trying to get better, but those are the challenges. It's like, what can I do then to be different? What can I add to my offering to inspire people and tell them spend your money with me, rather than like a big supermarket, rather than like a coffee chain,
Yeah.
And that's at least how I try to approach things. And at the end is also people realize, people are like, they see things. The more you can like share also your journey with them, the more they'll be like, that was really cool, and I want to support a small business. I want to like be more aware of like what I'm doing with my money.
Yeah.
So I feel like having that kind of like conversation, whether it's like through social media because you want to like share it, whether it's like you running the shop and having a chat with someone new, I think it all adds up and can help overcome challenges.
Yeah, because one of the challenges that we were discussing was around education, right?
Mm-hmm.
That people is not completely aware of
Mm-hmm.
what means to be vegan,
Yeah.
what is plant-based,
Yeah.
what is vegetarian, what are the benefits of going into that direction. And sometimes people is just very shut, to put these barriers of, no, I have defined myself as I eat meat and I don't want to leave that because this is my comfort zone, right? But when you start understanding all the benefits behind that, these small changes that we can do every single day, that's where things start going into a complete different direction. So, what are your thoughts around this education to people that is not yet there?
Yeah, I feel like what worked for me was an approach of like not being pushy.
Yeah.
Because when you're pushy, we all have different personalities. We all react to things. If you're pushy with me, that works because I want to prove you wrong. I want to like, yeah, I can do it. But then, when we dive into different kind of like topics like food and diet and culture, I feel like having a more relaxed conversation, it's better because if you're able to, with your actions, with your lifestyle, with your choices, inspire people to maybe make a change, that's better because they're like taking the time to reflect and understand rather than like being pushed. I had a friend that I told him I'm vegan, like, oh, I want to do it too. And he was like vegan for like 6 months and then he dropped it. Because it was like, oh, I want to do it, but like he never really thought.
Yeah.
Whether me and like other people that I know, it's like you need to have like your path of like learning. You need to be, of course, open-minded. And that's something you can't really teach to people, but you can inspire them.
Yeah.
You can maybe tell them, why don't you try? When I have people coming over to visit me, especially if they're like coming from Italy, I'm like, look, you're like my guest. I'd love to, treat you with the food that I eat every day, just for the next 4 days. Of course, if you want to like eat something else, do it. But like, I'm gonna cook for you. I'm gonna go to my favorite spot. just to show you that there's like really tasty food, and it's also healthy. It's everything doesn't have to be ultra processed. I know there's a huge stigma around, for also good reason, about like vegan food not being healthy, because it's
Yeah.
true, there's a lot of like crap out there, but it's the same also with like non-vegan food. You
Yeah.
can have your like burger once a week, but there's definitely a way of like eating healthy, eating plant-based, and do it in a way that can inspire people. So I feel like as third culture, we try to always do that in the way that we want to make tasty food.
Yeah.
When we have people coming for dinner, when we have people coming during the day, and they're like, "Oh, I never thought it could taste so good." And like, that's great. You know, that's all I want to hear. It's
Yeah.
like, now you have an alternative.
Yeah.
Whether it's gonna be your like daily alternative, once a week, you know, you want to talk about it, you want to learn more. I think that's good enough. You can't force people, because then it's not sustainable. It's abruptly everyone goes vegan.
Yeah.
You know, there's chaos, because it's like it needs to be a kind of like a smooth transition
Process,
of
right?
like,
Transition.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. And what I can see from what you said is, yeah, you need to be convinced that you want to change your life, because becoming vegetarian or vegan
mm-hmm,
really has an impact in the way that you socialize, right?
mm-hmm,
Because I was telling this to some friends that big challenges came after my decision of stop eating meat, when I was going out with my friends or in family gatherings, right? Those amazing dishes that my mom has cooked for so many years, I was not able to try it anymore, right? So I needed to be also strong in
yeah,
my will that I want to do this, because it's gonna be good for me in
yeah,
the long term, right?
yeah,
Uh, but those are the kind of challenges that people go through and then they just drop it. It's like, yeah, it's too difficult. I tried vegan, but then I stopped it after a few months because it was very difficult to find the right food. I was not enjoying it. People were kind of also because that happens also. People bullies you a
mm-hmm.
little bit. I have this chat with old friends. They're always making jokes about vegans. It's like, really, this is so
No,
boring.
no,
But it happens, right?
no.
Yeah.
You know, one thing that I want to share is that when we started the company, and my friends were like, "Oh, so how's it going in London?" Like, good. What are you doing? Like, oh, I started a vegan cheese company. And I felt a bit ashamed at the beginning, because I was a designer. So it made sense that I graduated as a designer. I worked as a designer. I would like pursue that path, you know. And like, kind of like, it almost felt like I dropped it because I'm starting something so random, like a vegan cheese company. And like, oh, vegan? Like, you know, there's so many things that like kind of like put me in a fragile, vulnerable spot. But it didn't last that long, because I'm like, well, there's a lot of good reasons why I'm doing this. At the same time, I'm also able to apply my design into the
Yeah.
brand, and then further to, you know, expand that creative direction in so many outlets. But you're right about the pressure and pressure pressure you get when going to eat outside, when visiting your relatives. It takes time for them to learn. But again, one way I do, when I went back to Italy last year, I was like seeing my uncle and cousins after a while, and um, I'm like, you know what, guys, I'm gonna cook for you tonight. I just landed, but I'm like, I really want to cook something for you. And we just went to the shop, bought a few stuff, brought some of the cheese as well from London for them to try, and they were shocked in such a good way. They're like, wow, this is so good.
Yeah.
And they started questioning, like, oh, so again, if you can find a way to inspire them to be like, this is cool, they need to see the cool side.
Yeah.
Whether the cool side is the taste, whether it's like the healthy, whether it's like the animal, the environment, they'll find their angle. But again, you need to inspire them, and then you leave it there as a seed. You know, if it grows in them and they wanna learn how to do it, amazing. If people are like struggling going out, because it's like even people that don't want to drink alcohol, you know, it's such a huge thing in the UK, especially because we don't work in like an office for like a company that is not ours, like employees. we don't have that. Oh, it's Friday. We go to the pub with the team, with the employees. Also, Angela doesn't really drink. I only drink every now and then for the taste rather than for the habit. And so it's hard sometimes when you go out and the pub is the only place where people would go to not order a drink.
Yeah.
But things are changing. People are like being more aware. Maybe I want to get an alcohol-free beer.
Yeah.
Maybe I want to get a kombucha. Maybe I want to get like something else. Maybe I don't even have to go to a pub. There could be other places.
Yeah.
So it's the same with food. It's going to take some time for your friends, for the other people, for the other cultures to adapt and learn and offer more alternatives. And the only thing is, try to don't take anything as an offense, because also people are also ignorant. So I don't think they're like trying to be mean when they're like jokes and like, trying to look down at you. Because I feel like as long as we don't look down at them for like eating meat, then we have that advantage of like, I'm cool with what you eat. So you should be cool with what I eat. If you want to smoke, it's like, oh, I'm making fun of you smoking because you're like a victim of like tobacco. It will be the same. Like you can find so many things that you can like trying to victimize someone, but like, well, it's your life. You can decide whether you want to smoke. I can decide whether I want to eat meat.
Yeah.
So if you have like, I think a chill approach, something that is like, you don't take it personally. Like, you want to believe in God, you want to believe in something else, So I feel like it's, again, finding the angles to like change people's point of view by not being like that, but like being open and be like, well, that's your point of view.
Yeah. No, but it's true. I think that's the right way to do it.
Yeah.
Not to try to impose anything to anyone, but more showing that there's another way, right?
Mm-hmm.
That there's an open door for you to go and try completely new stuff.
Yeah.
That it could change the way that you perceive your own life, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's great of all your journey, because you are doing that. You are doing something that is different, which is refreshing, right?
Thank
Because sometimes business, they are just about the same, right?
Yes.
It's like
Too often.
yeah. So
So
yeah,
often.
you look at that good product, and then there was Uber, and then there was all the others, right? There was one, electric bike. Now there's a ton of electric bikes. People, they like to go into that direction, and I'm pretty sure that soon you're gonna be having some followers trying to replicate this beautiful cheese, right? So how do you feel? How do you deal with your mental health,
Yes.
right? With regards of where are you and where are you going, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's more on how do you deal with mental health every day for you to keep you grounded
Mm-hmm.
and forward.
So first of all, I would like to say that I feel quite lucky that I'm someone that um, very rarely struggles with like a depression. It's something that I initially struggled to understand because my partner calls me like I'm a Labrador. I'm always happy. And I maybe mask
Labrador.
sometimes something behind the happiness, but I'm someone that really easily brushes off things. Like I get worried, of course, I overthink. Like this morning I was like walking my dog and I didn't take my phone with me because I'm trying to like, take a moment for myself. But then I like had all these ideas because, when you're an entrepreneur, you're like thinking all the time. It's really hard to disconnect. So I'm like, okay, I don't want to get annoyed that I'm thinking about work. I'm having some good ideas. So I'm going to, while walking my dog and enjoying the early morning, I want to kind of like elaborate some of them. I don't want to feel guilty that I'm thinking because I can't stop it. But I don't want to be hard on myself. So I feel like, even when I do mistakes, wrong business decision, I need to accept it. I need to be aware that that was maybe wrong, but hey, let's make another that was wrong.
Yeah.
So, let's do better. So what also helps me is taking care of like my body in two ways. One is like exercising. I think working out, whether it's like, running or going to the gym, it's vital, at least for me, to have that moment where I'm like really physically releasing that energy.
Yeah.
And I found out recently, especially in the morning, it really helps, because then I like to, it's a bit of a cliche, take a cold shower.
Yeah.
But it really makes you awake. You start the day more refreshed. You don't have excuses to skip your workout at the end of the day because you're tired, you have a meeting that's like carrying for too long. You do it in the morning, and I think that really helps me to like be on top of that. And then the other thing is like eating good food.
Yeah.
Even when we cook at home, we almost like to treat each other, me and my partner, as like, if I cook, um, I like to pretend I'm running a little restaurant and I'm bringing like a nice dish. So we always like
Nice.
garnish it. We always like make it look nice. It has to taste nice, but I feel like when it also looks nice, it gives it a moment of like, oh, that's nice. You have like enjoying something rather than just eating because you have to eat. I feel like combining these two things really helps to, after a tough day, have a moment of like happiness.
Yeah.
If it's a tough day, maybe it's not a tough day, but still adding extra happiness is good. And then morning time, yeah, doing your workout. I was saying to you also, having a dog really like
Yeah.
changed my life. I always wanted to have a dog. I never was able because I was like studying. I was living in a small flat, but then it all happened that both myself and Angela, we were like, yeah, it will be nice to have a dog. We live in front of a park. So the dog helped us. His name is Cliff.
Cliff.
Cliff. He helped us to carve time out of our day, which we thought was limited, into, well, actually, no, you have an extra hour that you didn't know you had in the morning to walk him. And then before dinner or like lunchtime, do you have like 30, 40, 60 minutes to still walk him and be out there rather than just, sitting on a couch, overworking on your computer.
Yeah.
It forces you in a nice way. Some people have kids, some people have dogs, some people have both. But I feel like also having a pet, a dog or a cat, can be an amazing way to help. And then at the end of the day, remind yourself that whatever you're like worried, is not the end of the world.
Yeah.
Oh, you're behind with, I don't know, maybe your taxes, or the client didn't pay, or that, it's annoying,
Yeah.
but it can be worse. So I always look at the glass more than half full. There's, but again, I'm lucky because I'm a Labrador. I have that advantage of like not feeling overwhelmed by things. I know for other people it's more difficult. People really struggle, they get overwhelmed. There's a lot of tools out there that can help. One of the most important thing I think is, again, food. Food can really release like a good moment of like happiness, a nice endorphin. There's more and more products that are like becoming legal here, like for example CBD tinctures.
Yeah.
That can really help to like put down the stress, because it's all here.
Yeah.
And then if you don't get rid of it, it goes in your body and it inflames. So being able to be aware of the issue is good, and then taking the steps it's important as well, because sometimes people forget to take the steps.
Yeah.
So I'm lucky I have an amazing partner and we help each other. And this is where I am in terms of like mental health. Again, I feel like I'm quite privileged to not be predisposed to like maybe have anxiety. I never have anxiety.
Yeah.
I never even have headaches, which is such a common thing for a lot of people. Like, I only experienced it once because of my wisdom tooth pulsing, but like I never get headaches.
Wow.
Which again, I struggle.
You're the first person that has.
I don't know. I really struggle to think when people have a headache. I'm like, yeah, I understand the concept. I witness it once or twice because it's like a pulsing pain, but it never occurs to me. So again, I'm lacking for some reasons to have an easier life sometimes. So yeah.
Yeah, you're lucky. Well, before closing, last question is: where are you going? You know, in the future. What are your thoughts? What are your goals? Just a little bit of that, and then with that, we're gonna be
Yeah.
closing this
So
session.
it's a mixed bag. So I don't like to complain because, but I also feel like it's important to point out things. I feel like the UK feels to me a bit stuck, a bit stale, the economy, and there's a lot of reasons behind this. Brexit, you're stop that influx of like people coming over, the creativity, it stopped the mix, it stopped the cross pollination of like ideas, and then because of that, the economy is not flourishing as it should. Of course, we had COVID. Of course, there was
Yeah.
like post COVID, but it does feel a bit stuck. And I recently came back from Los Angeles. Again, my partner, she's from LA. We went over summer for like 3 weeks to see family, and it was really refreshing. It was, if people are into food, that's one of the best places. The food scene is amazing. The drinks, the whole everything is really exciting, and that's because, um, to say it in a nice way, American people don't have a huge history. They have 200 years of history. It's a very fresh place, and you have, especially in a place like LA, which is different from like central
Yeah.
United States, you have like a huge Mexican, Central American community. You have like a huge South American and Asian community. And even if it's like maybe not that diverse because there's clusters of like people living in this neighborhood, still they mix.
Yeah.
There's
They
the
converge. Yeah.
food is the offering, the combination, like really inspiring, and then that translates into shops. The offering, it's really cool. I feel like the crowd there is more mature, more open-minded to try new things, and there's different things I like allowing that. There's the people, there's the being open-minded, there's a stronger economy. It's at the end the land of capitalism and consumism because people really consume, which is a bad thing. Sometimes also a good thing because it can spark new inspiring things. Whether here things feels a bit more safe, less risk adverse. The buyers don't want to buy new stuff. So when you go, like you said, in shops, you always find the same thing. Everything looks like a copy of a copy. And I do hope, and it's also our duty to, over the next few years, use our brand, use our voice to be that black sheep that's trying to do something different.
Yeah.
And if other people want to do something different, it's amazing because there's room for that. I feel like you gotta push. So I feel like the goal for us over the next few years is like use our products to educate customers, educate the buyers, educate the chefs that there's like really good stuff out there, that can look different and can taste different from what they're used to, and
Yeah.
that's a good thing. And then probably see as a brand if we can start to expand a bit out of the pond. And there's Northern Europe, there's like the US market that are, I think, places where we would do really good. But still feel there's a lot to do in the UK, and it's a bit of a duty for me to not just sit here and complain and look outside, but okay, what can I do here? Again,
Yeah.
as a challenge, what can we do to like make it work and
Yeah.
turn it into our favor. So I feel like over the next few, let's say, 12, 24 months, still the UK will be our main focus to like kind of like further prove that we have something that can work here, and then look into expanding maybe out of the UK.
Yeah. That sounds like a really good plan. And I'm really happy that we get to meet. We're here having
Same.
this really nice conversation because your product is incredible. I really
Thank you.
like it.
Thank you.
And it's not because I I want to promote it. Of course, I want to promote it, but it's because it's really good, right?
Thank you.
And it's different, and it's aligned with what I believe we should all be trying to do. Something a little bit different, because we have seen that the ways that we have been behaving as a human society, they are taking us to a point where summers are complex and winters are going to be complex, and every single time of the year is going to be challenging, right?
Yeah.
So but it's in our control to take different decisions every
Mm-hmm.
single day to decide what I want to eat, where I want to go, what I want to try, and that's good because you're bringing that possibility, right? Open it just for more options for people to decide, and this is what I believe is the great value of what you're doing. So
Thank you.
thank you very much again, Nivi.
Thank
It
you.
has
It's
been
my
a
pleasure.
great chat. I'm really happy for having it, and people are going to be really really moved from what you are
I hope so.
sharing.
It's as long as they can even have a little peek about maybe wanting to learn more. If anyone lives in London and wants to come and try our food,
Yeah.
our daily is open every day. So I invite you to come over. Maybe you'll see me or Luis at some point being around. But yeah, I wanted to thank you for having me here and sharing your time with me.
Oh, it has been great. So, guys, please take a look to this. We're gonna include some footage into the video, so we can see the restaurant. We can see a little bit of the products. But please take the time, try it. It's really amazing. Mikael is gonna try it in a few moments. Yeah. But thank you very much again. And with that, we're gonna close. Thank you. Ciao,
Thank you,
ciao.
Luis. Bye bye.